Hello and welcome to another edition of the program Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio. My name is Mute Olori. In most African parliaments, which are the voices of people, women are underrepresented purely as a result of patriarchy and male chauvinism. A 2019 data produced by the Interparliamentary Union on the representation of women in legislature across West Africa lay credence to this fact. According to statistics, Senegal is the country in West Africa with the highest number of female representation in the legislative arm of government, with a total of 41.82% ratio, while in Nigeria, as from 2019, out of the 469 members in the legislative arm in both Senate and the House of Representatives, there are only 29 women. Men have a whopping 440 representation. West Africans' average of women's representation in the arm of government as of 2019 is 0.4%. This is way below the sub-Sahara African average of 23.7 and the global average of 24.3. However, both of these are still below the 30% target often used for the affirmative action politics. On this episode of Total Woman, we have the former Vice President of Gambia, Fatoumata Tambadja Jallow, one of the very few women who have gotten to that position in Africa to speak on meeting the 35% affirmative action in Africa, and most especially West Africa, given her wealth of experience with the case in the Gambia. Thank you very much for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
Some of the issues that we were talking about is the 35% affirmative action. Can you enlighten us on exactly what the 35% affirmative action is? Because recently in Nigeria, it's precisely on the 1st of March, we know what happened in the National Assembly in Nigeria. So maybe a lot of people really don't understand what the 35% affirmative action is. Can you quickly just enlighten us, ma'am?
The affirmative action is an instrument that allows women, youth, and society as a whole to ensure that women, there is gender equality under the eyes of the law, particularly the Constitution, and it does call on the human rights of men and women, but particularly women, to enjoy their constitutional, legal, and social rights.
For Africa to meet up with the 35% affirmative action is political will. What is the place of religion and culture in also implementing the affirmative action in Africa?
Fundamentally, the custodian of national constitutions is government, and first of all, the constitution must be defined to respond to the needs and realities of aspirations of a nation. And once the fundamental rights of women are contained in the constitution as an entry point, then others, including culture, I do agree that cultural barriers are factors inhibiting women's participation in politics and in decision making. But once there is a political accountability to the rights of women, rights of young women, women of different ages, women in general, there are mechanisms that would enforce tradition to comply with the Constitution, to comply with the law. So fundamentally, it must start from the political accountability to ensuring that women, there is true democracy, there is democracy. Democracy is good governance, which is should be inclusive, leaving no one behind, particularly those who matter, the half of the sky in all the countries, you have more than 52% of the population being women, and not only women, but productive women, actors in the economy, in the social fabric, and everywhere.
And the truth actually is, the highest level number of voters in any election is actually the women, because they come out more to vote. But unfortunately, when it comes to political offices, they seem to be left behind. Okay, a quick one. What do you think can be done, to create an ambience, or to, should I say, prop up these men to have the political willpower, or have government to have the political willpower to enforce some of these laws as it pertains to women? Because I'm aware that there are other laws that are being passed as it relates to the government or society. But why is it that the ones that have to do with women are being debated, being questioned, or sometimes being thrown out from the National Assembly?
There's another, before that, I think we also need to look at the issue of the high rate of illiteracy among women, because education is also key, fundamentally, to keep the woman aware, make her aware of her fundamental rights to decision-making, political participation, and benefiting from development opportunities. So this is, again, it falls back, in as much as it is a factor, it falls back on government, because governments can ensure that there is equality in education, equality in professional development. And so with regards to your question as to how we can make that change the status quo, it will be important to have very strong leadership among women. Women must also have partners among the men. There are men who are gender sensitive, who are willing to support the cause of women. And so we need to, there are young people, the youth also. So we need to have a coalition, building strong coalitions that are focused, that have strategies. Because without strategies, it's difficult to really strategically measure the strengths and weaknesses and the way forward for the women's movement. So you need to have a strategic framework. And I know that the UN system, the ECOWAS, for instance, they do support women, the gender ministries, machineries that are geared towards established and mandated to promote the empowerment of women, gender equality, and the empowerment of women.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's a holistic approach that we must begin to take towards seeing that if power is not given, power should be taken one way or the other. Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm speaking with Ontoto Woman today, the former Vice President, Tamba Jang Dalu. Thank you. She's been sharing her thoughts on women being seen now and being heard than before, when they say women can only be seen and not heard. Now let's talk about Gambia, your country. What is the case now with Gambia? I mean, I'm talking about before and after your tenure as regard gender balance in political representation.
Political representation is really emerging, it's increasing among women. Today we have our legislative elections, and from my humble understanding, we have, of course, very little, but it's a starting point. We have 9 young women who are competing for the legislative elections, and I have tweeted that they must women must go out to vote massively for those women, because I know the women, I know they are competent. If we are not looking men, there are men who are not really that adequately equipped professionally to be in the legislature, but they have been there and they learn through the process. So they should also provide women the opportunity to learn, because learn is anyway from the cradle to the grave. The men and women must really vote for women and see the difference, because that is democracy. You cannot talk about democracy when you are leaving half of your nation behind, lagging, being always in the kitchen or in administrative positions or in very low positions. And this radical change must also include women now looking at themselves and even taking governments to court. You see, Nigeria has set the pace. They have taken the issue, and I clap for them, I salute them. I was so happy and proud about the way they did it. In our last conversation, that was one of the things we said: pursue them to court. And the court is for everyone. The law, no one is above the law. And you see, Nigeria has won. So this is fundamental human rights governed by laws, constitutions, where women, we consider women's constitutional rights being violated, they should go to court. This is one of the trends I would like to advocate for. In the Gambia, we have not started doing that, but I think that is going to be our next move in our strategy. And I think that the government cannot do it. The women's institutions cannot do it because they are appointed by government. But people in civil society can do it. They can rally around, holistically prepare a holistic strategy and advocate for that. The Gambian political, in the legislature, past legislature, you have women. The ratio is still not 35%. Overall, also in the civil service, in the private sector, because we also have to take care of the private sector. Women in the workplace are very important. They do a lot of, they produce and they contribute and they make a difference. Wherever you find a woman, generally the person is committed, the person is accountable, because women are shy of being accused of embezzlement or corruption. Or that sort of thing. So we have the traits, and now way forward, we need not only 35%. We must claim for 50-50. And we should have even claimed for more than that, because we are more than them. But as a starting point, let's push. Let's continue push. In Rwanda, look at how Rwanda is working, how governance is doing. Women are making a difference. Yes. We are seeing really democracy. Women's issues are being in the forefront of the national agenda, in the forefront of the civil society agenda. And this is why, really, no matter what we say, no matter what we feel about His Excellency Paul Kagame in terms of democracy, women are really coming up.
And we can actually see the change in the society. Rwanda is now a tourist center. Everybody all over the world want to come into Rwanda and see, what is different. And it's showing this, the country has transformed in all areas, economically and all areas. So looking at Rwanda some years back, it gives you the story of Singapore that came from nothing to something. And that is amazing.
Today, they have a female prime minister. Yes. You count around Africa, you have even like 2% of vice presidents and prime ministers. Most of them, instead of increasing, they continue to decrease. So for us to really be in those positions of decision making, one has to we need to have the strategies to work. Just as you say in Rwanda, you look at social cohesion, which is very important. Look at peace, which is the bedrock of development. After the 1994 genocide, if we didn't have more women, I know most men were, unfortunately, they lost their lives. But looking at women now, they have national peace and reconciliation, because women are in the forefront. Women are peacemakers. The men go to war, but we end up, which is when they go to war, they create wars and they go to war. And women and children bear the brunt of the conflicts. Still, with courage, they patch up the social fabric, bringing peace and reconciliation, and bringing, of course, as you rightly say, economic growth, inclusive economic growth and sustained development. Because if you look at Singapore today, inclusive growth, I really contest. Economists will say growth for every year, annual growth. Look at the impact of growth. If you don't see women really families having 3 meals on the table, participating in decisions that shape their lives. How can you really congratulate or celebrate that growth? Growth must have impact on social cohesion, inclusion, must have impact on prosperity, shared prosperity between stakeholders of a nation or between citizens.
And of course, women are the major stakeholders in any society. All right, Your Excellency, I'll take a short break and I'll just return. And when I come back, I'll be asking your final words on some of the issues that still have to do with women and equal representation in society. So I'll take a short break. Please don't go away. All right, still Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio. I'll take a short break. Please don't touch that dial. When we come back, we'll still be talking with my guest, who is the former Vice President of Gambia. Welcome back. It's still Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio, and my guest is still online, and we're speaking about the 35% affirmative action. I mean, isn't it yet time for African women to be seen and heard other than to be seen and not heard? Why we form the major stakeholders when it comes to economic growth, when it comes to human capacity, women are at the forefront. But how much do we have the courage and the strength to take up position? Some African countries are doing it, and so we believe that it's high time for it to go round so that Africa can come into its essence and its glory. So thank you, Your Excellency. I mean, they say there are more things that divide us as women, you know, in African women, because our peculiarities are the same, whether be Nigeria or Gambia or any other African country, Kenya or anywhere. How do we change the narrative to have more things that unite us than the things that divide us?
First of all, we need to discard the issue of having politicians dividing us. Mostly it's politics. Women must now start to focus on themselves. We have given too much to men. It's now time to focus on our cause, championing our cause, adopting a new narrative, a creative narrative that will be inclusive for the greater good of women. Forgetting that we are now, there are who are aging and there are young people, young women who are coming. So we need to start now building our own legacy. The legacy of really ensuring increased women in education, in professional workforce, in how do you call it, in the productive sector like agriculture, where women are predominantly the majority, in the informal sector, which contributes to significantly to GDP and to, of course, to overall economic growth. We also need to look at when we see the security sector. In Gambia, for instance, you have so many women in leadership positions in the security sector, which was male-dominated. So we need to break those barriers. We need to. It is us women in concert, in collaboration, through negotiation. We need to be good negotiators. We need to negotiate in terms of using preventive diplomacy, rallying people around us to support the cause of women, because every man has a woman in his house. So it's a mother, a daughter, and so we have to ask the questions we need to ask is, what can we do as women now, from now onwards, to continue working together? We are a force to be reckoned with. If we are cohesive, if we are focused, if we forget about politics, we can make it. But we also have to understand that we really have to be diplomatic. We have to be professional. We have to be strategic. We need to have a strategic framework, and we need to work among ourselves. Regardless of Nigeria, I came to Nigeria and I supported my sisters. Nigeria's progress is my progress. My daughter's progress, my grandchildren's progress, granddaughter's progress. So it's the same cause. Once they see that we are working across the continent, intra and intercontinental, men would start to say, well, these women are ready for change. And the change is already there. All we need is just to open the door with the right keys, which is with the strategic framework, with the right attitudes, positive attitudes, with the negotiating skills, with the leadership skills, and also not forgetting the rural women.
Yes.
Most times, development, when we focus as women, most elite women would just focus on the urban area. Let's bring on board those who matter. If they don't produce food, we will not eat. We will buy it from the market. They are the producers and they are the majority. So improving the lives and livelihoods of women and their families in the rural areas was also being focused, because there is no need to have political participation or decision making if you are not impacting on the lives of the people you say you want to represent. And we must now also try to have women voting for women, and also encouraging men to vote for competent women. I'm not saying any woman, but women of substance that can really independently represent women. Because if you are nominated by government, he who calls the piper plays the tune.
Yes.
So, but if you start as an independent, including even creating your own political party, not all women party, it could be an inclusive party, but then women must take the leadership. That's going to be a transformative change for now and prosperity. And I believe and pray during this holy month of Ramadan and Lent that God hears my voice and the voices of many of our women outside there championing the same cause. Bless the voices so that we achieve this game, and it's going to be for the good of our nations.
Amen. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
You have
Thank
accountability,
you so
and you would have a better social fabric and nations.
Thank you so much. One final word before I let you go. 2023 is right here. And Nigeria, we're going to the polls again to vote in who we want, in not only in presidency, but in many other sectors, like the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, the upper and lower houses, and of course, governorship and some other sector. What would be your word to the Nigerian woman as we prepare ourselves towards 2023 elections?
When I came to Nigeria recently, I reviewed the situation and I realized that women are a little bit late. 2023 is around the corner. By this time, they could have, by 3 years ago, they should have started lobbying the political parties. First of all, lobbying government to ensure that they respect the rights of women in decision making at different echelons of power. Local, national, and international, because you also have representatives in the international regional bodies and so forth. So they should have started that, and starting from there also, they should have ensured that they identify competent women aspirants who want to really vie for politics, and then strengthen their caucus, their solidarity, to ensure that people massively, women and young people and other people and men, support them and provide funding for them. The government can also provide subsidy or some contribution to the political empowerment of women, but that has to start from government, from the legislative action. Then it comes down to the political parties. The women should have ensured that all political parties give at least 35% or 30% of their positions to women, and support them to vie for positions, to contest elections. That they must happen, and that should happen by having them to change their constitutions to reflect that.
Exactly.
It's not going to be rhetoric, it should be action oriented. And from there, they should support them in terms of financing. Women don't have financing, but we can create our own fund. Nigerian women are very rich.
Yes, and we even have what we call the Nigerian Trust Fund, and it was actually the Nigerian Trust Fund that initiated taking this issue to court, and they did everything they can to see that we get the judges.
Exactly. So they should create that fund, they should build up that fund, so that when women are about to go into politics, when they are identified, they can support them, and then also mobilize. So many Nigerian families and men would willingly support. I'm sure that female candidates So I think I was saying that it's late, but this
We're here
now they still have the opportunity to really make their voices heard, women visible, and start to lobby for the grassroots. You know, wherever they have missed opportunity, they should transform that into opportunities for women to really be encouraged to come out and represent other women. Not forgetting, of course, the young people who are coming. So I pray that everything goes well for them and goes well for every African woman, so that the Africa we want, Agenda 2063, and the social development goals, talking about gender equality and women's and democracy and good governance at all levels, will be something of reality and not rhetoric.
Thank you so much. We look forward to an Africa that is one, unity, indivisible, and women will be at the forefront for it. Women, it is time to not only be heard, but to be seen and to be heard and taking the mantle of leadership. Thank you so much, ma, and I wish you all the best in all your endeavor. And I pray that together we will see more women in position of leadership, politics, governance, and in power. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
And I assure Nigerian women that I'm here, available and ready to support our common cause. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
The media is very important. Without the media, I would not have been heard, and other women who are really championing the cause of women and men will not be heard. So the media also, we thank them, and we should bring them in the forefront of the struggle for gender equality and the empowerment of women, human rights and so forth. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think it's a partnership, and together we will do this right. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. All right, so that's our show today on Total Woman 84 TV Radio. You've heard it. Every woman is in your life, being a mother, a sister, or a daughter, or a friend. So why not? Let's hold our hands and see how we can get to the top, because together we can make it better. My name is Muti Olori. I'll join you again next week on another edition with a wonderful guest on Total Woman on 84 TV Radio. God bless you. Bye-bye.